What's up guys, John Bird III here. We're back again for another video. And in today's video, we're going to talk about a reel that I realized that we have not talked about yet on the channel. Well, maybe just a little brief, but we're going to break down this reel that I have in my arsenal that we have not talked about. But before we jump into it, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Hit that like button so you can be notified whenever we put out a new video. Again, we're going to change up the times of when we will start putting out the videos. Like I said, we normally put them out Saturday mornings. I've been doing the last couple weeks Saturday evenings, and just because of college football and the NFL football being on Sundays and stuff like that, so I'm probably going to tweak when I change it, but I just haven't decided yet to what day I'm going to change it to and the time I'm going to change it to. But make sure you hit that notification bell, that way you are in the loop for whenever I drop a video. But without no further ado, we're going to talk about the KVD LFS Loose Speed Spool. So if you have not had the opportunity to fish this reel, KVD has this reel in 3 gear ratio. So the particular model that I have is the 6:2:1. And with that gear ratio, that should already tell you what I'm using it for. This is one of my crankbait reels. And so this is just, and for me, it's just in general, just a regular crankbait reel. I don't have a particular crankbait that I throw with this reel, but anything cranking, whether it's a 1.5, 1.5 flat, which is somewhat hard to throw on this reel because it's just a hard bait to throw. But the gravel dogs, the 3XD, 5XD, 6XDs, any crankbait that I feel like I need to throw that day, I will pick this reel up and throw it. And so one thing in particular about this reel that is, I guess you could say that I really like about it is, of course, the frame. I've talked about the frame so many different times on this reel that the frame is pretty awesome. This is the LFS frame, and this is probably one of my favorite frames just because of the ergonomics of the reel. It has this little lip right here. If you can see it, that little lip right there with those 2 holes. And I normally lay my index finger across that. And that's what makes this reel pretty comfortable. It's not a super heavy reel. I think it's in it weighs in the, I guess, the 6 ounce range. So it's not super heavy and it's not super light. So it's just a great all around weight and size of a reel to fish with all day long. And it holds a ton of line. Now, one thing about this reel that is, I guess you could say it's one of them things that I'm not a fan of, but it works, is the MSB braking system. So that has the 4 pins on the inside, if you can see that. Y'all know I'm not a big fan of reels with pins because I don't know, but you can really dial this thing in because you have the gas pedal, you have your brake pedal, and you got the pins on the inside. But one thing in particular about this reel, and I was fishing with one of my buddies and he had one, and he couldn't figure out how to dial it in. A lot of channels tell you when you have a reel that has pins on the inside, they tell you to do, if it has 4 pins, you turn 2 pins on. If you have 6 pins on the inside, you turn 6 pins on. Well, that is not the case with this reel. You actually have to do 3 out of the 4 pins. And that will set you up perfect for a KVD 1.5. You set your gas pedal just right, because I like to set mine a little bit tighter than normal. I like to make sure that my bait just barely falls. And then I put my brakes on halfway. And then at that point, I start making a cast and I adjust. I may back off of my gas pedal a little bit to make it fall down a little bit faster. I may back off on some of my brakes, but I do not touch those pins no more on the inside. Because I feel like if you do half and half, you have to have more brakes on and you have to take your foot more off of the gas. And so I found the best happy medium is doing 3 out of the 4 pins on this reel. Now, if you're throwing heavier baits, of course, there's a lot more wiggle room in that because the bait is a lot heavier. But because I bought this in the 6.2:1 gear ratio, that is why I bought it for cranking. And so because crankbaits are lightweight compared to, I guess, your bigger baits, like I said, like the 5XDs, 6XDs and stuff like that, they're a lot lighter. So this reel right here, you have to put on a little bit more brakes when you start talking about smaller baits. But if you use more heavier baits, as I mentioned already, that is the way to go. If you can go 2 pins on, halfway on the brakes, and just set your gas pedal just right, and then you start manipulating that from there. Y'all know I like simplicity, so I really only like messing with the gas pedal and the brake pedal, but I mean, if you like to really like get into the workings of it to try to really super dial it in, that's the best way to go. You just got to play with it a little bit. But for me, I do 3 brakes on, set my gas pedal to where it just barely falls, and then put my brakes on half, and then I adjust from there. That is what I found to be the best deal. And then, like I said, when I went fishing with one of my buddies and I made the same tweaks to my reel, and I did that to his reel, immediately changed. He's able to make a whole lot longer casts, and it just completely changed the way that he was fishing because he realized that he didn't have it dialed in right. So anytime you buy a new reel, no matter what the brand is, the model, whatever, make sure you, when you get out on the water, to really play around with the settings of the reel to make sure that you dial the reel in perfect. Because what could potentially happen is you could pick up a reel and you don't set it up right, you start having tons of backlashes, and then at that point you have guys, they just start bashing the brand, they start bashing the reel, saying the reel is trash and stuff like that, when in all actuality the actual issue was the user, it wasn't the reel. Now, I've had a reel from a totally different manufacturer before that, and I guess it was more so defective more so than anything. I turned all the brakes on, had my gas pedal locked, I turned all the pins on, everything, and I still could bomb a 1/2 ounce football jig and backlash. So that just told me it was a defective reel. But from that point on, I was just like, as much hype as that particular reel had, and a lot of people talk about that particular brand, my standards were pretty low after that. And so I traded in and I got I took it back and got me a Lose Tournament Pro. But back to the KVD reel, I love the garnet look. I guess you can call it garnet burgundy, something like that, like a darkish red. It's more like a garnet for all my Gamecock fans. Not a Gamecock fan at all. But anyway, more garnet. But it's a cool reel. It looks really great. I like the black accents. I guess that garnet and black looks really cool. And the rod that I normally pair with this reel, I mix it up between all my different crankbait rods. So I may put it on the Custom Light 7.2 medium moderate. I may do the 7.4 medium moderate. I may do the 3XD rod. I may do the 8XD rod. So I normally play around with all my different crankbait rods. If you have not seen my crankbait series video, it's a 6-part series. I go from the lipless crankbait all the way up to big 8 to 10 XDs. I have a 6-part series and I break it completely down, and I give you the rod, the reel, the line, and the particular baits that I throw on each rod. So if you haven't seen that 6-part series, make sure you go down into this playlist, scroll all the way down, and you will see the 6-part series. And so line that I normally put on here is 12 pound. That's normally my go-to line for cranking. I feel like if I switch to 10 pound fluorocarbon, I feel like it's gonna break. And that's just me. 10, 8, I feel like it's gonna break. Even though on my drop shots, I use 8-pound line, but I feel like 8 and 10-pound line for finesse fishing on spinning reels is right for a spinning reel and not necessarily for a crankbait. Because with the crankbait, I feel like you're putting it in some gnarly kind of stuff. You grinding it up against rocks and stuff like that. So I feel like 12 will get you still to the right diving depth for that particular bait. So if it dives 5 to 7, it will dive to 5 to 7 feet. The only reason you will go down with a crankbait in line size is just to get it down deeper than the bait is designed to go down. So just keep that in mind. But I normally like to do 12. 12 is probably the best, and I don't feel like I am handicapped per se. Now, granted, I will throw a drop shot with 8-pound braid tied to an 8-pound fluorocarbon leader into the center of a drop shot. But I still feel like that's a little bit different when you're talking about a crankbait. When I think of crankbait, especially like a KVD 1.5, I look at that bait as like a 4-wheel drive type of crankbait. Like you are intentionally putting it in some crazy stuff. But on the flip side of that, I don't really have a lot of issues as far as nicks in my line. So this is 12-pound Strike King Contra. I've had really good success on this line. Haven't really had many issues with it. I mean, if you're going to get nicks in your line, I don't care what braid it is. I mean, what brand of line it is, you're going to get nicks in your line, and it's just part of it. But the thing to keep in mind is, Andy Montgomery says this all the time, control the controllables. So in theory, you control the things that you can control. So when you're making casts and you're going down the bank, you throwing a KVD 1.5 or a gravel dog, whatever your favorite crankbait is, and you get bit, you get that fish in the boat, after you put them in the live well, if you fishing the tournament or you throw them back after you take your picture, check your line. always check your line, because that is one thing that you can't control, because you could check your line and just about 8 to 10 inches up from the knot, you may feel a little nick, instantly cut it off, retie, and guess what? You're back in the game. So at that point, you actually controlled the controllables. So keep that in mind as well. So that's pretty much it for today's video. Something pretty quick, something very simple, but I realize this is a reel that a lot of people talk about, and it's a great reel to fish with. Again, it comes in 3 different gear ratios. So you have a 6:2-to-1, 7:5-to-1, and 8:3-to-1. So you can build out an entire arsenal just off the KVD platform. And I forgot to mention the price. $150. It's $149.99. And Lose has been running a bunch of different promos throughout the year. So you might be able to catch this reel for 20% off. So you might get it for like $120, $115, whatever, if you play it just right. And if you got the Bass Pro Shop credit card, I'm gonna throw this little plug in there. Not sponsored by Bass Pro, but I'm gonna throw this out there. When you get a Bass Pro Shop credit card, every time you spend money on Bass Pro Shops with that credit card, you rack up Bass Pro Shop points. So essentially, those points you can use to buy whatever you want out of Bass Pro. And so that is another little perk. So anytime with fishing being an expensive sport and it's getting more expensive by the day, anytime you can find a way to save money, that is always the route to go. So again, if you can catch this reel for $120, $115 like that, brand new out the box, when they're on sale, make sure you get it, because you won't be disappointed with this reel. I mean, again, I enjoy fishing this reel. Again, you have to pay attention to how you dial your reels in. I can't harp on that enough. If you dial it in and set it up just right, you will have a lot of success with that reel. You won't have many issues with it. So if you need help learning how to dial in that reel, make sure you check out my other videos. Shoot me a message, leave a comment down in the description, and I will try my best to make sure we get you all squared away. I'm JB3. I'm about to go get up on the lake. It's a cloudy, overcast day, maybe a little slight rain showers here or there, but I'm about to go play around with perspective mode on four-face sonar. Four-face sonar has been the last week has been just ridiculous with the amount of, I guess, controversy from the different leads talking about four-face sonar and the changes that they're going to make and all this and that. And it's like, it's either you like it or you don't. I sit dead center in the middle. It has burned me and it has helped me. So if lower club tournament trails start banning forward-facing sonar, would I be mad? I'd be mad for more so of a money purpose, because I'd have spent the money on it. But I'll just take the graph off and just still go fishing regardless, because I'm a target-oriented fisherman. And so that's why you hear me say like santee, talk about santee a lot, or getting up shallow. I like fishing at targets. And so today my plan is to go mess around with perspective mode so I can see the full gamut of what's really out there on a little small local lake around here. And I just want to play around with it to try to get a little bit better at it, see which one I like better, and try to understand which one works better during what time frame. And so once I understand that, I feel like that will help me out a whole lot more. I mean, who knows? Maybe I can win one of these days. But anyway, the only way you get better at anything, you got to get out there and try. So if you suck at throwing a baitcaster, the only way you're going to get better at it is you get out there, go practice with it. You suck at skipping, the only way you're going to get better at it is get out there, start skipping. So I'm JB3. I'm about to go hit the pond. I got to get back to living the dream. I'll catch you later.